distinguished guests, government officials, G20 delegates, speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Caroline Surahman. We'd like to welcome you to the third G20 International Standards Summit 2022 right here in Bali, Indonesia. This year's summit is organized by the National Standardization Agency of Indonesia, BSN, together with the IAC International Electrotechnical Commission, ISO International Organization for Standardization, and ITU International Telecommunication Union, with the participation of the WTO World Trade Organization under the auspices of the Indonesia G20 presidency, alongside G20 strategic multilateral platform that brings together the world's major developed and also emerging economies. This international summit will establish ways in which the institutional framework of the international standard bodies can help governments and also regulators around the world. It will examine the role of standards in turning policies into concrete actions to implement objectives related to better health, digital transformation, sustainable energy transition, and sustainable development goals. Together with the representative from governments, also industry, academia, think tanks, and civil society, we'll explore how the solution to these issues can be built on the foundation provided by international standards. We would like to begin by greeting our honorable guests, in which, whether in person or attending this summit virtually, His Excellency Dr. H.C. Insinyur Erlangga Hartarto, MBA, MMT, our Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Kuku S. Ahmad, Chairman of the National Standardization Agency of Indonesia, Mr. Jean-Marie Paugam, Deputy Director General of WTO, Mr. or Dr. In-Pao Chu, President of IEC, Ms. Ulrika Furki as the President of ISO, Mr. Holin Chow, Secretary General of ITU, Riccardo Lama, President of the Italian Electrotechnical Committee, CEI, Italy, and also Mr. Pramod Kumar Tiwari as the Director General of the Bureau of Indian Standards, India. And of course, to all participants and also speakers that has been joining us right here in person in Bali, and of course, for all of you that is joining us virtually around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to participate and ask you to participate singing the Indonesian national anthem song, Indonesia Raya. With that said, please rise. Ladies and gentlemen, you may please be seated.
For the first time, Indonesia hosts the G20 Presidency, a forum of international economic cooperation with members of the world's major economies.
Kepercayaan ini adalah kesempatan bagi Indonesia untuk berkontribusi lebih besar bagi pemulihan ekonomi dunia. untuk membangun tata kelola dunia yang lebih sehat, lebih adil dan berkelanjutan berdasarkan kemerdekaan, perdamaian abadi dan keadilan sosial.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the video opening.
Now, the world is in another multi-dimensional crisis due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As a group of the world's major economies with political and economic power, the G20 can drive the world's recovery. Therefore, the Indonesian G20 presidency invites the whole world to work hand in hand, support each other, to recover together, recover stronger. To achieve this target, the Indonesian presidency is focusing on 3 priority sectors as the key for a strong and sustainable recovery. As the side event of Indonesia G20 presidency, World Standards Corporation (WSC), consisting of International Electrotechnical Commission (IEC), International Organization for Standardization (ISO), and International Telecommunication Union (ITU), together with the National Standardization Agency of Indonesia (BSN), and in collaboration with the World Trade Organization (WTO), organized the International Standards Summit 2022 in Bali on 20 October 2022. The International Standards Summit 2022 promotes the role of international standards in supporting policies into concrete actions to achieve global recovery goals. This summit raised 4 topics: better health, accelerating digital transformation, energy transition and security, and how to reach net zero, and the Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs). Through this forum, stakeholders and policymakers can exchange experiences and perspectives on the important role of international standards in global trade and social and economic development. We believe international standards can contribute to an inclusive global recovery.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was our video opening of the G20 International Standards Summit of the year 2022 with the 4 pillar themes. That will be our session. But before that, we do have a keynote speech that is given through a video by His Excellency Dr. A.C. Insinyur Erlangga Hartarto, MBA, MMT, our Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia.
Honorable the National Standardization Agency, Chairman, International Electrotechnical Commission President, International Organisation for Standardization President, Honorable International Telecommunication Union Secretary General, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and good evening to those who join this event virtually. It is a great honor to speak in this G20 International Standards Summit today. This event is very essential as today, 1 month away from the summit, we really need every stakeholder's support to ensure that the Bali summit will be fruitful and benefiting for many people. My apologies that I cannot be in person among you in Bali. I believe that the beauty of Bali will bring the peace that the world needs today. Distinguished participants, as the premier global economic forum, the G20 under Indonesia leadership will set up a political guidance to meet the 2030 SDGs by leaving no one behind. We should do this together. What we have learned from the pandemic, we are strongest when we work together. With all these global threats lurking simultaneously, there is no choice. We cannot recover stronger unless we recover together. A stronger recovery means publicly accountable policy are enacted. We need to make policy accountable, especially in this unprecedented time of crisis. Because people who are fighting the pandemic and struggling to sustain their livelihood are primarily the stakeholder. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as discussed in Rome last year, the International Standardization Agency must drive forward their multilateral effort as we navigate through the unstable times and look ahead to a robust, balanced, and inclusive global economic recovery. A shared commitment to contribute to sustainable recovery process is a must. We appreciate all standardization agency of G20 members' effort, led by BSN under the Indonesia presidency, to continue demonstrating a strong commitment to utilizing standards, shielding the community, and improving the business world. Good quality of standards become more important in global trade and business sectors. They help harmonize technical specification of product and services, making the industry more efficient. For consumers, standards are not only improving customer confidence that their products are safe, reliable, and assured, but also bringing economic benefit for countries. First, for business sectors, standardization are strategic tools and guidelines to help companies tackle some of the most demanding challenges of modern business. They ensure that business operations are as efficient as possible, improve productivity, enhance customer satisfaction, and help companies access the new markets. Second, for the government, standards adopted by government help to ensure the requirement of import and export are at the same all over the world, therefore facilitating the movement of goods, services, and technologies from country to another. Beyond that, they will be protect the planet from potential environment damage such as emission of gases and radiation. They also bring about technological, economical, and societal benefit. Collaborating among government, business sectors, and standardization agency are very important. This forum allows International Standardization Agency from G20 members to meet and discuss how the deliverables can be translated into policy of action to boost trade transactions among G20 countries and to achieve SDGs target. Countries are left with no choice but to strengthen collaboration. The spirit of working together for a resilient future must be embedded. As G20 presidency this year, Indonesia is ready to lead the developed and emerging economies, taking the global recovery as a common goal. Distinguished participants, at the G20 Summit, the international standard, several topics regarding standardization on health aspect and economic recovery will be discussed in accordance with G20 theme of Recover Together and Recover Stronger. Under this theme, we have to be firm in our multilateral commitment to strengthen the global economic recovery and resilience. This event offers an opportunity to showcase not only the Indonesian government's commitment, but also G20 commitments to the world in terms of facilitating good regulation to protect the people and increase competitiveness in the business world. Today, we discuss these issues and seek concurrence on the proposed deliverables. However, please kindly bear in mind that this will not be the presidency achievement, but these are the achievement of the collective member of the G20. Therefore, I would like to use this opportunity to build trust among us and cooperate to achieve our common goals. We have to send a clear message to the international community that not only G20 has strong commitment, but we are also able to put those commitments into concrete action. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to our Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, Dr. A.C. Insinyur Erlangga Hartarto, MBA, MMT. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we'd like to proceed to our next agenda, and that is hearing the welcoming remarks by the Chairman of BSN. Please welcome Mr. Kuku S. Ahmad.
His Excellency Dr. Erlangga Hartarto, the Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, Pak Dr. Andes I. Ketut Adiarsa MH, Kepala Biro PBJ dan Perekonomian Provinsi Bali, selaku tuan rumah, terima kasih sudah hadir. Dr. Yin Piaosu, the IEC President, is going to give the speech through video. And then also the ISO President, Ms. Ulrika Franke, ITU Secretary General, Mr. Holin Zhou, and Mr. Philip Metzger, so he is here with us physically. The IEC Secretary General, Mr. Sergio Mojica, is also attending physically here. The ISO Secretary General, Mr. Chai Supli, the Director of ITU, CEO or representatives from standard body, from G20 members, distinguished speaker, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning, or probably good afternoon or good evening to all of you who join with us, probably virtually. It is my great pleasure to welcoming you all to this important event of G20 International Standards Summit 2022 under the auspices of Indonesia G20 Presidency. It is a great opportunity for Indonesia to give a significant contribution to global economic recovery. Accordingly, Indonesia G20 Presidency carries the theme Recover Together, Recover Stronger. With this theme, Indonesia G20 Presidency is expected to provide a new spirit to create a better world that not only provides welfare and prosperity, but also ensures the sustainability of life in the future. In this good opportunity, I would like to thank all of you who has taken part in today's important event. This event is organized by World Standard Cooperation, which consists of IEC, ISO, and ITU in collaboration with BSN and with the support from WTO. Ladies and gentlemen, international standard plays a key role in global economy and facilitating trade among G20 members. In this important community, Indonesia believes that international standards developed by the collaboration of three organizations, namely ISO, IEC, and ITU, become recognized globally, support sustainability development goals, and improving a country's national quality infrastructure. The development of standards requires consensus, collaboration, and innovation, taking into account scientific justification. It is not surprising that standards are widely used, including in occupational health, quality and safety system, environmental protection, and also in determining the social aspect of sustainable development. Distinguished delegate, ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia has set Recover Together, Recover Stronger as the main theme of this year that refers to how global economic recovery requires coordination and collaboration in all aspects. Indonesia chose this theme since the world is currently under pressure due to the COVID-19 pandemic, requiring joint and inclusive effort in finding a way out or solution for recovery. The spirit of Recover Together is clearly reflected in the logo of Indonesian presidency. This logo illustrates the determination of Indonesian G20 presidency to promote the world's recovery after 2 years of struggle against the COVID-19 pandemic. Red and white color background in the logo, as well as a gunungan silhouette, a shadow puppet depicting a mountain, strongly shows Indonesian identity as a nation. The gunungan symbolize life, especially the transition to a new chapter. It reflects optimism and enthusiasm to recover from the pandemic and enter a new chapter of green and inclusive development. There is also a special batik motif, we call it kawung, which philosophically symbolize the spirit to be useful to others. Distinguished delegate, ladies and gentlemen, before I end my remarks, I would like to encourage you to enjoy Bali in your spare time, and even it would be a good idea also to stay longer here to explore this piece of paradise island. Bali has plenty of magical temples reflecting spiritual life of Balinese people. Bali has long been an example of unity in diversity, living side by side in peace and harmony with our brothers and sisters from different cultures and religions. This is truly Indonesian experience, as the old wisdom says that we are only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided. To end my welcome remarks, I wish you all to have a fruitful discussion and looking forward to having your contribution to the summit. Enjoy Bali and stay healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kuku S. Ahmad, as the chairman of BSN. And now, as mentioned by Mr. Kuku before, we do have some video messages by our leaders, since we are having our summit today by hybrid event. So these video messages will be played for you, ladies and gentlemen, and also participants that is joining us through virtually. And we begin with our first video message by Deputy Director General of WTO, Mr. Jean-Marie Palgam.
Ladies and gentlemen, did you know that a flower grown and flown from Kenya to the UK had a carbon footprint over 10 times lower than those produced in a northern European country and exported by boat to the UK? How can the Kenyan producer measure it and prove it to its customer? What metric will support a more sustainable trade against the most climate adverse? My name is Jean-Marie Palgam. I am Deputy Director General at the World Trade Organization. I'm very pleased to say a few words at the opening of this important G20 Summit on International Standards, hosted by the government of Indonesia. I want to focus on the environment and standards, a top priority for world trade. Just as with the example from Kenya, standards have a central role in the transition to a net zero economy. If we do not have common standards, we will instead create fragmentation. Imagine a spaghetti bowl of standards and different methods of verifying those standards. This type of fragmentation leads to higher costs, uncertainty, and possibly trade barriers. It happened that the WTO rules gives us a role in standards and regulation. The WTO Technical Barriers to Trade, TBT, this agreement guides global standard development and promotes alignment with relevant international standards to facilitate global trade. Our rules call for transparency, openness, and inclusivity of developing countries to ensure globally relevant standards, and this applies also to decarbonization standards. These rules help separate genuine efforts to achieve environmental policy goals from protectionist ones. Standards are critical for businesses. Businesses are on the front line leading the effort toward decarbonization. They need to be fully involved in standard setting activities. Only then can we be serious about coherence in carbon standards. Take steel as an example. To achieve net zero targets, we know that decarbonization of the iron and steel industry in the value chain is critical. Indeed, iron and steel are essential inputs in nearly every facet of modern life, from construction to transportation and energy, amongst others. So, we need to find ways to produce steel and other materials like cement and aluminium with significantly lower carbon emissions. It is positive to see a wide variety of public and private initiatives and standards for decarbonizing the steel sector at the international, regional, national, and company levels. But so much diversity can create uncertainty for businesses and trade. What we need are standards that are suitable for different production routes and technologies, different countries, and enable comparison between products to allow firms, consumers, and governments to take better decisions. As WTO members move at different paces in developing low-carbon markets, we need to move toward a just transition by ensuring that developing and least developed countries can be part of the low-carbon value chains and the standard-setting efforts. This means broad participation in standard-setting activities. It is essential, whether at home, at the national level, at the regional, or internationally. The WTO's Technical Barriers to Trade Agreement calls for 6 principles for the development of international standards. One of these, the principle on development, recommends facilitating participation by developing countries and capacity building within international standard-setting bodies, including through technical assistance. We must explore ways to broaden and deepen developing country participations in standardizing activities. At the WTO, we will do what we can to support relevant international standards bodies and international cooperation. We want to promote inclusiveness and responsiveness on these issues, whether we are talking about carbon standards, health and safety, or digitalization, all areas that I understand you will speak about today. With that, let me wish you a good and very productive summit. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your video remarks by Mr. Jean-Marie Pogam. Our following videos comes from Dr. Yin Piao Chiu as IEC President, Ms. Ulrika Franke as the ISO President, and Mr. Holin Chow as the ITU Secretary General. Let's take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends, on behalf of the IEC, we welcome you to the G20 International Standards Summit 2022. We are pleased to organize this Standards Summit alongside our partners in the World Standards Corporation, ISO and the ITU, as well as the WTO and the BSN. This is the 3rd International Standards Summit that the World Standards Corporation has organized. I am pleased to see that it is having a wide resonance beyond the standardization community. Last year, the G20 Room Leaders Declaration highlighted the importance of international standards. This year, we are an official G20 side event under the auspices of the G20 Presidency of Indonesia. The global community continues to grapple with the consequences of a global pandemic and must address the looming environmental and economic challenges ahead. I believe that international standards can provide solutions. The theme of this year's G20, Recover Together, Recover Stronger, aligns with one of the core principles of the standardization community, collaboration and cooperation. We are a global community of dedicated experts representing government, industry, and academia, working together to advance a better world. Today's summit will showcase how standards and conformity assessment contribute to better health, accelerating the digital transformation for all, and achieving our net zero and sustainable development goals. I would like to thank BSN for your tremendous support in helping us to organize this G20 International Standards Summit. Please enjoy today's discussions. Thank you.
A warm welcome to you all to this landmark in collaboration and progress through standards. It is with great enthusiasm and expectations that ISO, together with BSN, our partners in World Standards Corporation, the IEC and ITU, and the World Trade Organization, are building on the momentum of the G20 recognition of the enabling power of standards. This year, the context of Indonesia's G20 presidency, Recover Together, Recover Stronger, provides an opportunity to enable change that will empower a generation to build a better world for all. This can only happen when we have strong foundations. Global health architecture, sustainable energy transition, and digital transformation are the strategic priorities for Indonesia during the G20 presidency. There are many who are watching closely. Not only is Indonesia the economic powerhouse of the region, but as one of the largest and most populous states, Indonesia is responding to the threats of global climate change and a world in transition. On this last aspect, there have been remarkable advances, and it is in part thanks to the actions of its young and dynamic population that the country has sprung back from the economic impacts of COVID. But it's also the willingness to work together with others to identify new solutions that inspires me. I have great confidence for the future of Indonesia and its fellow G20 members who are determining those solutions through collaboration and the power of standards. Thank you.
Dear colleagues, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to greet this third edition of the G20 International Standards Summit, co-organized by ITU with the National Standardization Agency of Indonesia, BSA, as well as our partners in the World Standards Corporation, IEC and ISO, with the support of WTO. I want to thank the Indonesia government for making ITU a knowledge partner of the digital economy track of its G20 presidency this year. It's a recognition of the important role that ITU plays in addressing some of the world's most pressing global challenges. Today's summit will focus on the actions required to address some of these challenges, including achieving better health, effective and sustainable digital transformation, energy security, clean energy, and net zero emissions. These are at the heart of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, call for global action. And we can reinforce this action by working together in international standardization, which is one of ITU's core competencies. I bring this message to G20 leaders in the firm belief that the commitment to inclusive standardization processes can place everyone in a stronger position to achieve their ambitions in sustainable development. Standard development calls for the participation of everyone, that we are rely on the resulting standards. ITU's work is driven by your contributions and consensus decisions. Our process ensures that all participants' voices are heard, and I urge you to make your voice known. Thank you.